Hi, I'm Chuck Shelton. My pronouns are he, him, and it still matters that I share that. I'm the founder and CEO of Great Heart Consulting based in Seattle. I want to encourage inclusive leaders from any role with this video because developing inclusive leaders for courageous cultures is what our company does. We're going to dig into first principles for inclusive leaders so that we will have more productive conversations and less arguments around DEI, and so that we stay the course in a time when human differences, fairness, inclusiveness, and belonging are under sustained attack. Let's start with a quick diagnosis of the DEI controversies in which we find ourselves. This is the context for our leading more inclusively. It's my view, when it comes to DEI, there are three groups of Americans. Yes, nationality is a narrowing factor. The joiners are those committed to leading more inclusively who want DEI to expand its impact to help a wider mix of people get more done together. The wanderers feel the pull to include themselves in DEI to connect with people, but it so often feels like change means they have to lose for others to win. For the wanderers, DEI needs to be safer to include themselves in it. In contrast, the rejectors exclude themselves from DEI, assuming that it cannot be right and useful for anyone to explore differences, fairness, and belonging. Rejectors seek to suppress DEI. The idea here is that first principles will equip us as joiners, as inclusive leaders, to engage the wanderers, to renew our brand as inclusive leaders and scale our influence. That's an antidote to the unreflective, anti-woke crowd who are trying to deconstruct our life's work. Let's try out this definition. First principle is a foundational and essential truth. In this case, the first principles are three propositions about what rests underneath as causes for inclusive leadership. As someone who has been at this work for more than 40 years, here are my first principles for inclusive leaders. We start with practice kindness with curious empathy. Every effective leader invests in caring for others. Behaving with kindness and being gently inquisitive position us to lead across every point of view and every identity point. Put another way, you can only lead inclusively among others if they consistently experience your care for them. Practicing kindness with curious empathy is how we differentiate ourselves from the stumbling culture of heartless aggression around us. It builds our bridge to the wanderers so they feel safe enough to build toward us. It's a practice that constructs a culture where vulnerability and emotional intelligence serve as norms. And that's a discipline to navigate human differences and establish fairness in systems. Practicing kindness through curious empathy is a method to recruit, grow, and retain a healthy mix of talent and customers. So this first principle starts with you. Do all your stakeholders experience your care? The initial first principle, EQ. The next first principle, intellectual rigor. Make decisions with facts, not fear. Decisions matter. Data matters. Metrics count. Science works. Rationality is excellence. To make effective decisions, inclusive leaders evaluate facts and sources. There are many management decisions that call for this intellectual discipline. I'll just mention two. Right now, we must position DEI's business relevance and value with metrics aligned to key business goals. And right now, we need to respond with rationality and data to those rejecting DEI. The wanderers are watching. This is a particularly good time for inclusive leaders to make decisions with facts, not fear. So let's talk about fear, because it's a trait that brings risk to all humans. Fear attacks across differences. It asserts emotion as fact and then claims that my facts are better than your facts. Fear insists that truth is a personal opinion. These are all ways that fear ruins good decision making. As inclusive leaders, we get to respond to other people's fears. Sometimes that means we help people with deep experience of advantage and privilege when they react with denial or alarm. I'll say it another way as someone who has accrued much privilege in my own life. When the fish discovers it's wet, it might react badly, coming to see things you had not seen related to being white or male or straight or American or Christian, or a loss of not knowing is still loss. So what we see now are many attempting to bypass emerging reality by crouching down inside a win-lose frame. Learning to see and own advantage and disadvantage is fearsome for each one of us. Anxiety across differences is present all around us and in us. As such, fear and anxiety need to be taken into account when making and implementing decisions. So inclusive leaders make effective decisions that consider the fear. But what's decided is grounded in values, strategy, metrics, and evidence. This first principle, we make decisions with facts, not fear. The next final first principle, be better and make things better. Being better speaks to personal transformation, dramatically growing your own character and performance. Own your story. Lead with authenticity. Find your courage. We can choose to focus on growing even when, especially when, others openly doubt and actively resist our contribution as inclusive leaders. Relentlessly seek to grow your point of view, your skills, and your impact. Pursue your growth mindset as an inclusive leader. Making things better focuses on continuous improvement in the organization and in the community. Inclusive leaders establish policies, practices, and systems that reduce bias, create opportunity, and build strong team culture where each employee belongs and works from their strengths. Inclusive leaders don't play small. We dream big. We seek justice and promote peace. We try to be the solution we want to see in the world. One can go after all these things in any political party, at any age, across any spiritual commitment. Inclusive leaders seek transformation because we center integrity, trust, and accountability. Perhaps in a time when DEI is under attack, you wonder if dramatic growth in character and performance should occupy our horizon. My view, disruptive times invite such growth. What can happen if we are relentlessly inclusive and wide open to every aspect of identity, all focused on getting the work of our organization done together? It's less about what we oppose and more what we stand for. Simply put, inclusive leadership that transforms also scales. Inclusive leaders right now have the chance to find effective ways to invite more people into the work and build bridges towards those tempted to exclude themselves. We can step into accountability for fixing our past shortcomings as DEI practitioners and respond effectively to the rejectors. Our final first principle, inclusive leaders get better and make things better. I'll end with how we can use these first principles. With your colleagues, I invite you to share this video and the article by the same name downloadable from greatheartconsulting.com. Ask them one by one, can we agree to try these first principles with one another? If they say yes, discuss what that will mean for how you will work together and what you will both do if the other person is not behaving in these ways. If they are not willing to try out these first principle behaviors with you, share your concerns about how that can limit the relationship and ask them again. If they say yes, work it out between you. If they say no again, thank them for considering it and disengage. Stay open to them coming back to you, but don't waste time trying to change them, and accept the impact of their choices on the relationship. Here are the first principles for inclusive leaders: emotional intelligence, intellectual rigor, relentless improvement. We can focus our inclusive leadership on discussing these first principles with our colleagues and maybe friends and family. In doing so, we will build new bridges and we will disengage from DEI, around DEI, from those who currently reject it. It won't be easy, but it will be good when we do it together. Thanks for considering these first principles for inclusive leaders.